Good day to you, partner. I'm Eve, and I can already tell that I'll be your best friend in this forsaken camp.
Hey guys, Wheat Solo here, aka the Skeleton King. The video tonight isn't going to be the most exciting, but this is incredibly important information, and I feel like I should even do more kind of like this to describe the various damages and the skill choices you have as a summoner and how it affects your damage. For instance, I could do some about how much amp damage actually increases your damage. It's actually kind of like 60 or 70% buff at 50%, maybe more like 70, because at 33 it's basically a 50% damage buff. At 50 it's probably more like 70. It gets harder to talk about because you start to get to like half reductions on pierce and average enemy PDRs. So it's kind of complicated to just say it buffs your damage by a certain amount. But this is a little more straightforward, and there is more like this I could do, which would kind of give you an idea about how much damage your minions actually fucking do. The reason I was finally spurred to make this is someone commented on my video just, I think, a week ago now, and I think I quoted that at skill level 50, his skeletons were doing 2,700 damage. Let's see if I was right. Or, I think I said 2,750. Maybe I said 2,500. So, mid-game skellies, level 50. He had a Phantom Merc. He had all that jazz. So, actually, he had 1,444% damage buff. His skeletons were doing somewhere in between this damage. So it was probably actually pretty close to 2,750. Because he didn't have in-game skills, but he actually had like level 54 skellies or 52 skellies. God, I can't remember. And he definitely had faith and T-Mite. So that's kind of how this chart works. It kind of charts kind of where you might be at a certain point in the game based on your skill levels and based on the gear of your mercs and how much you can afford. So anyways, I think it's actually a pretty good guess that his skeletons were doing 2,750 damage. He was incredibly upset. He said, at level 50 plus, skeletons do 5,000 damage. It says so on the sheet. Please check. Don't pass wrong information. And he had like a little hissy fit. So I'm just making sure I'm recording. This is their damage that should be on the sheet. In fact, this actually might be a slight exaggeration, and why it would be very slight is on the PD2 website, it says skeletons don't gain ED from Skeletal Warrior for the first 3 levels. So all of these numbers would be 30% less ED. Why didn't I just follow that? I just didn't feel like it made sense. I was like, how did they program the skill to do that? And then here's the counter. Well, why didn't you just go into the MQL file and you can check? You could actually see what is happening at these skill levels. Do they get 10% or not? At the end of it, I just decided 30% ED is not a big deal. For instance, right here, 30% ED would be like 30 damage less. Okay. Here, 30 ED would be 90 damage less. I mean, it's a chunk, and you have 8 of them, or 10. But, so just know, this actually could be an exaggeration. And this number is drastically different than the number in your tooltip. I don't think it's 5,000 at skill level 50 on the tooltip, but it's at least in the high 4,000s. Like, I know that in your mid-50s, it definitely says 5,000 on your tooltip. And they don't do that. For instance, this skill level 63 is now the new BIS. No, sorry. This is BIS with a skill shrine. Yes. This is BIS. Level 61. So that would be level 63 Skeletal Mastery, level 61 Warriors, level 60 Mages. This is actually possible with gear now. And I know that because it used to be 59, 57, 56. I've said those 3 numbers way too many times these past 8 months. But the reason it's going up 4, is you can gain 3 more from a shield, because offhands can now roll 3 to summon, 3 to your skill, and then you corrupt it. In the old days, you could only get 4 from your shield. Now you can get 3 plus 3 plus 1. So there's another plus 3, and then Hellfire Torch got buffed by 1 skill. So 4 more total. Right, 59 is the Skeletal Mastery, 57 is the Warrior. Sorry, it's because of Marowaks. They just screw everything up and make it harder to talk about. So this number is based on your Skeletal Warrior skill, and it assumes you're wearing Marowak. So for instance, this has 64 base damage. So that's assuming you have skill level 32 Skeletal Mastery. Generally, your Warrior and Mastery are similar. I understand, guys, that it might not be. These are ballpark figures of how much a skeleton should actually be doing. So if you had 20 hard points in the skellies, 20 in the mastery, 20 in the mages, and you had level 30 warriors, assuming you have level 32 mastery, this would be their base damage. So all of the auras you have, or the ED from their skills, which would be 700%, this is really easy. It might be overshot by 30%, so I'll just say that up front. The reason why it's so easy is you just give them 10 for every hard point in Mastery and Mages, and then 10 for every hard and soft point into Warrior. So at level 30, you have 30 times 10. Let's just write this out for you guys. Well, you have 30 plus 20 plus 20. What does that equal? 70. Then you times it by 10. 700 ED. Conversely, that also means if you didn't want to run Skeletal Mages, your tooltip is going to, show some insane, wacky number. So I think the tooltip is counting synergies really wrong when it comes to this skill. But if you didn't want to run Skeletal Mages, you just minus 200 ED from these totals, and that's how much damage your skeletons would be doing. Like, for instance, if you have mid-game gear, which everybody's going to get, trust me, skill level 50, if you play the game for a month, you're going to have level 50 skellies, okay? And you've got your Might plus Beast Merc, okay? You're doing Ubers by yourself. Your DPS, they're DPS, by the way, not their damage, and that's different. We'll get to that in a moment. It's actually kind of complicated. And you got a Laeric, so you're doing 25,730 total with your skeletons. Oh, let me put the comma back. Okay, like I said, this is a lot to go through, and if anybody wants this, maybe I can give you this link and you can check it out more on your own. It's kind of why I made it. But let's say you cut out skellies, right? Skelly mages, and I thought about actually writing this in. In fact, I guess I could just do it right now for you guys. Well, I don't want to because I have these tabs are very specific right now. It's not a big deal, but basically you'd have 200 less ED. So at 200 less ED, that's 217. Well, actually, we can just do it here. So 217 times 2, because it's a percent. So that would be, what is that? That's 434, 444. Keith, you're really dumb. It's 434. Well, I got it right the first time. Don't be so mean to me. So if your Skelly's DPS, oh, that's DPS, right? That's base damage. So there's one hard thing about this. It would actually affect it by 0.87. And that was 0.86. That's because of the way skeletal attack frames work with Beast. See this number? 28 frames per attack. And for Beast, it says right here, where is it? EDs from auras. We go to Fana, Beast, 29 frames per attack. 29 frames per attack is a 4-frame buff, because normally Skellies have 18 frames, but they have to wait 15 more frames before they can attack. This game runs at 25 frames per second. So what you do is you do 25 divided by 33, and that gets you this 0.86. So all of your skeletons, if they, sorry, but it's not 33 because you're not using that. If you didn't have this, you'd do 33, and it comes out to 0.75. Right now, we're using Beast, right? So we would do 25 divided by 29, and that gives you this 0.86 number. So I don't want to do all the math, but that's about 40. It's actually a little bit more. Let's say it's 43. So that's 391. Okay, that's actually not too bad. So we take this 391 we take this 2573 number, right? That's right. Assuming you have a level 10 BO from Call to Arms and a level 10 Heart of the Wolverine from a Wisp. Okay, these aren't ridiculous numbers. In fact, I think level 20 on your own would actually be pretty hard to get, but considering it's with a skill shrine, I think it's not too unreasonable, because I remember I often had level 15 BOs in Heart of the Wolverines. You put a skill shrine that's 17 with the Hellfire Torch buff, that's 1 more plus 1, that's 18, and then, right, you got GG, let's say you got a 6-6 CTA, as a 2-3-3 Wisp, I think you're going to get there. So my numbers aren't too ridiculous. So anyways, you take this 391, we minus it by the 2573. I know this list is just going to blow people's mind. They're just going to, like, their brains are going to evaporate. So your skeletons are doing, oh my god, this math, 2,180 something, too. There you go. So they'd actually only do, we times this by 10, right? 21,820. What do we have on the list right here? Wow. It's actually less than 4,000. It's a 3,900 drop. In the end, with the amount of ED you lost, considering you have 1379 and you lose 200, that means you're losing, like, is that 20% or 10%? It's like 15% DPS loss. And you'd go, well, Keith, why would I do a 15% DPS loss? Well, that's because you have this clay golem thing going on over here, and that's like a whole nother can of worms. And then you have this golem mastery thing. See this one hard point? This is the damage you could expect from clay golems if you just ran one hard point into them. And so at mid-game gear, which is what we're talking about, with your Act 5 Merc, boom, 3,000, 16,000 DPS. So let's say you wanted to run 3 curses. You wanted to run 20 amp, 20 curse mastery, and you wanted to run 20 golem mastery. Well, that means you can't afford 20 in the skeleton mages. But what you would get is this 16,000 number. Whoa. So we lost 3,000 damage, but now we gain 16,000. That seems really good. Okay, so now you get the use of this list. Let's go through the numbers real quickly and give you an idea. Now, I give you an idea about where you would be at this point. So level 30, 40, 50, 61, 63. This is BIS. This is BIS with a skill shrine. I label these as fresh hell because getting plus 10 skill points for a summoner is really easy. All you care about is plus skills, okay? Like, literally, shop Akara a couple times in Nightmare. Get a +4 wand, get a +4 shield. You know, it's not that hard. Make a rhyme, make a splendor, ID every single necro head you come across. Make a lore, find 1 +1 Ami. Boom, +10. You're going to get there before hell. Low gear is +40, and people always say, 40 skills isn't low gear, Keith. Okay, and 50 isn't mid gear. That's in-game. Not for a summoner, because again, all you care about is plus skills. You're not playing Whirlwind, okay, where you don't even run the skillers of your fucking spec. It's just, when you talk about a summoner, the only number that matters is plus skills. So getting a lot is really easy. It's kind of just how the game is designed, and it's what you should be shooting for. So 40 is low gear, 50 is mid gear, 61 is in-game. Technically, I would say in-game is like 57 plus, because getting those last few numbers is going to be pretty tard, because that shield's going to be rare. You might have trouble getting +1 on your Laerix. Like, maybe you can only get a +5 shield total to skeletons, right? And even that would not be rare, but it might be like there's a few people bidding on that one, 322 +1 shield or 311 +1 shield, okay? So it's pretty close to in-game. And then there's the ridiculous skill shrine in-game, which I just thought to put up there. And I called it GG Boys over here. And then I did some funny stuff where I said, like, you have a Might Beast Merc and then a Pride Iron Golem, just for the swag. Okay, so now you get it even more. Alright, so let's talk about the auras at these various skills. I just put down battle orders and how much it gives at level 5, 10, 15, 20, and 50. I think 50 might be a little much for a group. I don't really remember what BO buff barbs run, but I remember it being in the high 40s. I'm not saying you're going to join a party with it, but that's something I ran into several times mapping. And so, for instance, when we go to the GG boys, we actually use level 20. But we have this little number down here called P8 power. This is assuming you're in some weird group. It's from this number over here. And you've got level 50 BO, level 50 Heart of the Wolverine, which both of these are like, maybe you'll get like a 47 BO and like a level 53 Heart of the Wolverine. Like, you might come across this, okay? A level 30 Fana and a level 30 Might and a level 30 Concentration. Why I said level 30 for Fana, Might, and Con is because Paladins normally don't... They might run 20-point Fana, but they're not going to have that many plus skills. And I have been in groups where somebody ran a higher level Might just because they were playing with another Pally commonly. So this could happen, alright? Just have a little fun with me. I also listed the Vigor Velocity bonuses of various items in the game. For instance, the new shield, the new Necro Shield, Harmony, a classic rune word, your Act 1 Merc. By the way, the Mercs are based on level 18. The only difference is the level 18 Might does get buffed by battle orders. So once you get battle orders, that's why the Might goes up a little bit more than it used to. Because it's assuming you have battle orders, which also buffs your Might from your Merc. So technically that would be, what, like 45% or 43%? I forget. It would be a little bit higher than this. And then also, just so you know, if you have a Paladin running Hardpoint Vigor, you gain faster run walk as well. So that's kind of something to keep in mind for your group. Vigor is really underrated in this game, mainly because it actually increases faster run walk, not just velocity. So basically, this makes you zoom way more, even though it's not much higher than this number. And then this little bottom number is one of the more useful things, because this is like an Act 1 Merc and a common setup. So for instance, this is with a Faith and a T-Might, a level 15 BO, and a level 15 Heart of the Wolverine. So that goes into your mid-game gear section, basically. Like, these two numbers around here are based around that mid-game assumption that you have like a level 15, a level 10, those kind of numbers. So it's kind of like if you just want to figure this out on your own and you have like a different level skeleton, this is kind of a number you could just plug in and it would probably be close to what you got. Like, again, it's Act 1 with Faith and Merc, Faith and T-Might, and Act 2 with Pride and T-Might, and Act 5 with just Beef, and then it talks about his own Mights included there. The reason the BO's higher is because it buffs his Might, and yeah, and then that's what these numbers over here are for. At the end, there's Main Hand Beast, which is a very common thing a Necro can do, is they'll just equip a Beast, and that's the damage from that. Here's a Pride Iron Golem. This is where it starts to get memey, and that number is basically only ever used over here. I'll actually show a video of a Pride Iron Golem, and it's not... People do it. Look, when you're playing, if you play this season for longer than a month or two, you're going to have extra runes. And if you're still playing Summoner, why not Main Hand Beast or make a Pride Iron Golem? Okay, what else are you going to do with those fucking runes? Just, like, stroke yourself off while you're looking at your stash? Okay. Now we've got basically the numbers I'm working from over here. Then we take these numbers over here, and then we kind of plug them in over here to where we think a player might be at a particular point. Okay, Fresh Hell. How much damage are you doing? If you're running an Act 5 Merc, you're doing 820 damage per skeleton. Now, I don't even put with Laerix, because you have not found Laerix. If you did, you're very cool, and show it off to your friends, because you found Laerix when you're fresh in hell. You're doing 6,500 total with all of your skeletons. While if you're not running an Act 5 Merc, you're actually doing quite a bit less. that's a 20% DPS loss. It's actually a little bit more than that. Like, might matters a lot early on, okay? 234 ED, like 200 ED over here means nothing when you cut out mages. Over here, it means quite a bit. I do list, though, if you were running Act 1 or Act 2, you're gaining something, right? You're gaining Defiance, PDR, Enhanced Defense, or Vigor for Velocity. Now, let's say you're low gear, so you've been farming in hell a bit, you've accumulated a setup for where you've got your +3 helm, you got your +3 ammi, you got your +3 shield, so you're starting to stack up dem skills, okay? You got your +5 wand, right? You got some skillers. Getting 40 is not that hard. I'm also assuming you have a CTA, and the reason I do that is because CTA is the best rune word in the game to make at ladder restart. You might go, well, wouldn't a Larix be a better DPS buff? The reason CTA is the right choice is because CTA will help you do Ubers in a group more than Larix will by yourself. In fact, if you crunch the numbers, a CTA would probably help you about as much as a Larix, because of the fact you can get +3, 4 wands pretty easy. Even a +5 wand right now might not be that hard. And Larix only gives +5 if it's perfect. What a CTA gives is health to every single skeleton and 1 +1 skill. That just is like an aura on your body. So it's always an extra +1 skill. Like, please make it early on. The only reason why I would say don't make it is if you're solo self-found, because you haven't found the runes. But once you find the runes, make it. If you're not solo self-found, make a CTA first, because you might want to do Ubers, you might need some help, and CTA is going to help your party do it. You know, the first week or two of ladder, a CTA is going to help your group more than anything else. And a CTA is going to help one person more than almost any item in the game, including even a Larix, where it gives you, 2 more warriors all the time, and 2 more mages. By the way, I don't do Mage DPS, because why? They do 0 DPS, don't worry about it. Basically, let's say, just to talk about mages, at mid-game, if your warriors are doing 25,000, your mages are generous estimate would be 10,000. And people get angry when I say that. I don't think they're doing that much damage. Single target, maybe they're doing over 10,000. While clearing a map, they're probably doing 7,000. It's just the way their spells are. They just start to have such little impact. By the way, at lower gear, mages have much more impact. So, we'll get to that in a moment. So, at low gear, it's assuming you got that CTA, but like maybe you can't afford a Faith yet, or a Templars. Like, that's going to be one of the next things you buy. Like, maybe you're 40 and then you make a Faith, right? Like, it's not perfect, but it kind of gives you an idea. Now, mid-game, you got them +50 skills. You got a Faith. You made a Beast for your Merc. You got a Templar's Might for your Act 2 Merc, right? And you even got a Heart of the Wolverine now. And you got to level 10. I think that makes sense, because Heart of the Wolverine, it's not, like, necessary for a summoner. You can just use SOJs. But, like, another 83% ED, right? That's almost another 200 damage per skeleton. Like, you don't want to drop that. You don't want to drop it, right? Exactly. And look at your skeleton damage now. Now your skeletons are starting to pump up. By the way, with low gear, I do assume you could have a Larix. Why I did both all the time is because Larix is actually it's not that shitty. It has 20 FCR, but that's it. There's this item called Whiz Spike. It has 75 all res and 60 FCR. Like, you can't replace that. You know what Larix has? It has 20 FCR, and I think it, like, casts Bone Prison. That's obviously more useful than this stuff, right? The Bone Prison you don't need all res, because it casts Bone Prison, and that protects you. And then, obviously, we get to the end game. You have the Faith, T-Mite Merc. Again, the end game at 61, it's probably a little... what's the word for it? A little overestimated. Like, you're probably going to complete your Mercs, these Mercs, like, especially, you're going to complete those, like I said, at, like, level 57 warrior, level 58 warrior. Because those skills they start to slow down a lot. Like, for instance, 54 skellies isn't that hard to get right now, so 56 probably isn't that hard to get. And by isn't that hard, I mean if you put in the elbow grease, you'll get there. Getting anywhere beyond that, you're probably going to have to put in some trading time. Like, it's not just you'll play the game and you'll find the trade and get it. It's like you got to post every day in the forums that you're looking for a +6 total skelly shield because you want to replace your +5 with a +6. And like you'll put, I am looking for +7 too. You know, you'll put both, but you'll take either. It's going to slow down a lot. But still, you get an idea. Like, you could hit about this number for your skeletons. You really could. So if you have near in-game gear and you want to know the DPS of your warriors solo, it's somewhere around here. It has Act 5 Merc, it has Act 1 Merc if you want to choose that. Look at how similar the damage is, actually. Now, Act 5 Merc does easily like 10 times more damage to a map than Act 1. But there is advantages to Act 1, and we're gonna talk about that in its own video. And then what if you're that oddball guy and you want to go Act 2? There you go. You still do good damage. And Act 2 Merc is actually the most reliable Merc. That's a melee Merc. Act 5 Merc is kind of dumb, and Act 2 Merc is less dumb. Funny enough, one advantage to Act 5 Merc is he doesn't have frame recovery. So Act 2 Merc can actually get hit and do nothing. Act 5 Merc, he has basically like ignore pain. Something like that, like in WoW. I think that's what the skill was called. I can't remember. But yeah, he don't give a fuck, dude. I think it was actually an oversight by the design committee. I don't think they wanted that. I think they just forgot to give him frame recovery values. Or who knows, maybe it was. So there you go. And like, you get these numbers at the end, like, you're not going to hit this. Could you? If you do, you need to tell me. And you need to tell everybody in Skeleton Chat. I actually achieved GG Boys Season 1. Season 2, I was 1 off GG. And it really sucks. I mean, I never made a Pride Iron Golem, but I could have. I had everything else. Now I'm getting depressed just thinking about it. I never got the +1 Larix. I tried many weeks. I mean, I stopped playing, but I would post on the forums, +1 Larix, please give it to me. I couldn't find it. So, like, take that into account, that the Skeleton King, he was 1 off GG. So if you get 2 off GG, you should be proud of yourself. Like, that's pretty good. Like I said, like, you might get 4 off GG, and it's going to slow down a lot. And you're going to have to really dedicate yourself to get that last little bit. By the way, this is for fun. It's possible that in a group, your skellies could do 65,000 damage or more, counting all 10 of them. In fact, it actually could go higher if you had some friends and you got like higher level Fanas and Mites and Concentrates and sick BOs and stuff. By the way, GG Boys does not count a skill shrine with your GG. Technically, if a bar buffs you, you get +2 more skills again. So this number, it's not theoretical max. The theoretical max of skellies in a group, I don't know, 80,000. I mean, you gotta remember that the way skeletons scale, they scale exponentially. Maybe that's a little high, maybe it's 75,000. But like, I mean, theoretical max, like the max might you could get from somebody, all that crap. Who knows? Crazy. Okay, so let's get to this golem stuff real quickly. I have no idea how long this video is. I'm sure most people have tuned out. Let's go through this real fast. Look at this. Fresh Hell +10 skills, 5 golems, 15,000. What are your skeletons doing? 6,000. You said that you thought that people should say skellies all the way through Hell, but literally you're losing 2 times the damage. Well, remember, mages do more damage reliably earlier on. So, like, right there, if your skeletons are doing 6,000, I think it's fair to say your mages are doing 4,000. And then you'd go, Keith, that's still a lot lower. Well, let's go up one step. Let's say you have low gear now, which plus 40 is not hard to take. Now you're doing 13,000, right? Or you used to say 10,000. You didn't even get the Lyrics yet. What are your golems at? Ooh, 20,000. Uh-oh. That doesn't seem good, Keith. Well, again, I think your mages are probably doing 7,000. I think that's reasonable. I don't think anybody would go, Keith, that's unreasonable. That's out without Lyrics. No Lyrics. I think with Lyrics, you'd probably be doing more DPS. Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be fair to think that your mages are doing 8,000, right? And that would be 21,000. You're doing more damage already. Now, you do have AMP. That's kind of where this starts to go. Like, AMP is very hard to calculate, but I'll give you some of those too. Basically, at the 40 skill point range, skeletons are basically better not counting for curses, even not counting for Lyrics. And if you go, well, I just still don't think so. Remember, 50 is not that hard. It really isn't. At 50 skill points, your warriors with Lyrics, 25,000, 27,685. Mid-game gear. Let's say you even chose the best Merc for them, 28,000. By the way, look at this. Act 1 Merc is actually better for Golems than Act 5 because frames is just like all they care about. And Faith saves one more frame. By the way, interestingly, you know how I said that skeletons attack every 18 frames? Golems attack every 17 frames. But skeletons save 4 frames with Beast and 5 frames with Faith. Okay? By the way, level 8 Beast gives you the 4 frames. Level 12 Faith gives you the 5 frame save. As much as the PD2 website calculates, you can never save a 6 frame from fanaticism. I'm not saying there's not some way to do it, but definitely there's no way to do it from rune words. So don't even worry about it. If you roll a level 12 Faith, all you're losing is some attack rating and ED. And I'm not saying you should be excited, but at least know you're not losing a whole frame on 10 minions. Because again, it's not you're saving 1 frame or 5 frames if you didn't even have anything. It's that you're saving 5 frames times 10 minions. That's 50 frames of damage. It's a big deal. Now the funny thing about Golems is Golems only save 3 frames with Beast and 4 frames with Faith. And as far as I know, there's no way to save that 5th frame. It might be possible. So it's kind of cute that actually skeletons with Faith attack the same as clay golems with Faith. Kind of a weird little rant. Now, conservative estimate, your mages are doing 10,000. I think that's what I said. Probably 8,000 in a map and like 12,000 against the boss. I think that's like about their range. Maybe even like 7,000 in a map. You're still doing more damage than your golems. Still. Let's say you start to get to that in-game gear. 35,000. By themselves, they do more. Like warriors by themselves, when do I think they do more damage than golems? Looking at these charts. Maybe level 58 skellies. Something like that. 57. Like the kind of number that I think a lot of people could get if they put some time into it. I'm actually having fun making this video. I wonder how many people are actually going to watch it till the end. Maybe I'll try to put chapters in it when I'm done. Okay. Last part. What are we at? We talked about clay golems, their comparison to skellies, your progression into hell. There are other considerations, by the way, between skellies and clay golems beyond golems are better at first, and then they kind of peter out, and you have more points for curses. Remember, clay golems is just 20 and 20. I'm not saying max out synergies. While skellies is 20, 20, and 20. Well, there's even another thing to consider. What if you just put 1 hard point into clay golems? What if all you wanted to do was get 20-point golem mastery for your 5 clay golems? How much damage would that be? Well, I'm glad you asked. Look at that. Look at this. Look at this. It's 11,000 without any hard points in the clay golem. Okay? Oh, this is low gear. Sorry, okay. I was like, wow, that really is good. So low gear is plus 20 skills. At 40, 11,000 to 20,000. The reason why the difference isn't that much is every single level of clay golem gives you 100 ED, but the ED is always based on 120. Remember how big of a deal this ED was because of the base damage? Like, this is reasonable to get. At 50, your skeletons almost have double the base damage of clay golems. In fact, they get double the base damage at around 55, 57, maybe 54, 56. You know, skeletal mastery is always 2 points higher. That's about the point they actually double the base damage. So, like, all these multipliers going on, it's affecting skeletons twice as much as it is affecting clay golems. Like, for instance, remember that P8 power number where you have that ridiculous group giving everybody ridiculous amounts of damage? One skeletal warrior is almost doing as much damage as one golem. And remember, you have 10 of these guys, or 8 if you really don't want to wear Laerix. You only got 5 golems. Okay, so, but what if you just put one hard point? Because instead of going, 60 skellies and then, 50 curses, what if you went 60 skellies, 20 clay golems, and then 30 into curses? You just got that golem mastery. Well, with low gear, you'd get another 11,000 DPS, which, yes, I understand, it's half as much as their 20,000. By the way, they are better with the Act 2 Merc eventually, but because you're using Skelly, so you're going to use an Act 5 Merc, so let's just go off that for both. You're adding 11,000 to this 13,000 number, okay? So what are we at now? We're at 24,000. And remember, they only do 20,000 by themselves. 24K. You'd go Keith, but you're spending 80 skill points. You'd have 40 skill points over here for these golems, because you'd only be spending 40. This way, right? This is you spending 60, 20. That's 80. This is only 40-point golems. Well, and I'd go, what are you going to do with those points? You want max amp damage, max curse mastery. Okay, that's a minus 40 amp. I think it's reasonable. You'd have minus 50 at that point. At minus 50 PDR, I think this is the number. You're probably doing that much damage with your clay golems, assuming you're fighting an enemy with 33 PDR. Oh, that's 50. This is low gear. Oh, okay. Right. Sorry. We're doing low gear. 20,000. See, I thought I had these ready, but they're kind of not. But I'm almost done with this video. Bear with me, and we're going to get you out of here, and you're going to have knowing more. This is low gear, so we're not even going to do minus 50. We're just going to do minus 40. So that means 103.5. Because you're actually doing more damage than you can't. Because you're dropping their pierce at half efficiency. So you're doing, 5%. There you go. 21,000. Okay? That's it. It's actually not a large buff. So those clay golems, with their 40 hard points in the curses, are doing 21,000. What about your mages and your clay golems? Okay? And you can't afford that many points. Remember, you spent 20 more into skeletal mages. This is just 40. This is 80. Okay? This is assuming 40 points in the curses. Well, guess what? You can afford 1 point in the amp. 1 hard point. Guess what 1 hard point gets you? 10%. So now let's go to this number. Let's put in 24,000. We're assuming your average Hell Monsters PDR of 33, but you have a 10 amp. 1 hard point, okay? Like, if you really want, take 10 off ED and put 1 less skeletal mage out there, okay? So what? It's like 23,900. Maybe it's 800. We'll put 800. Screw it. Okay? If someone's being like, wait, Solo, what about that extra skill point? You could put it into Crepify. And that would increase DPS because you love that skill. I do love that skill, but that would take like 4 skills to get there. But whatever. We're doing 22,800 because it is a point, however unvalid it is. So now we times this. This is so much math. I know. This is kind of fun though. All right. 5,000 damage less. So we take this 23,800, minus it by 5,000, right? 5,470. Just going to do that. And how much damage have we got? 18,000. So now we have 21,000, and this is, remember, 40 and 40. And this is your 81, or 80, because you're going 79 and 1. Now, you got 21,000 here. Over here, you got 18,000. And everyone's going, well, Wheat Solo, you just put yourself into a corner, because now you're completely wrong. Look at how much better clay golems are with curses, considering skeletons and skeletons. We haven't added mage DPS. Okay? So we have these mages over here with low gear. We're assuming you have Larix, right? I think that's fair. We could even have done it that you didn't. Let's say your mages are adding 5,000 DPS. Okay? I think that's a fair estimate. Especially single target. Well, guess what? You just beat clay golems. And that's even counting amp damage. Now, for anyone who's smart, they'd go, well, if you did this with an enemy with 50 PDR, clay golems would still win, because that's kind of just the way that enemy resistances work. Pierce matters more when you don't bring it below 0. If you're reducing an enemy's PDR from 90, okay, and you're only dropping it 10 with 1 hard point of amp damage, you're not doing much damage. But your clay golems, if they're dropping it by 40, right, you're doing 50. That's a huge DPS increase, okay? Instead of doing 10% damage, you're doing 50% damage. You don't need to be a math guy to figure that out. What's 20% of this? It's 4,600. What's 50% of this? It's like 10,500. There is that side of things. So it's kind of hard to talk about amp. But again, even if you don't get into the better gear, you only have 40 points to spend in clay golems. Don't put it in the synergies. Trust me. It adds 24 point times 5, because you have 5 of them, okay? It gives you 120 damage, right? Because it's 20%. It's not good. Now, if you actually wanted to go clay golem and you didn't want to put more into curses, then I guess you would get synergies. But you're not going to see much of an improvement. But what if you're getting to level 90, which isn't hard, okay? And you have, remember, plus 12 more skills, because you get 12 skills free from doing all the quests in the game. All of a sudden, you got 102 skill points. So you can do your 80, which is 60 skellies, your 20 clay golems. You still got 20 points for curses. So now you got a minus 30 amp. Okay, what are your clay golems doing? They're getting decrepify. That's useful. They're pumping it up. That's actually good. You kind of only need 1 hard point in decrepify to really get a good use out of it, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. Again, I'm a huge fan of decrepify. Don't even need to talk to me about it. But if you're playing solo, you don't really need it. Decrepify is a curse for group play, or Ubers. A great role in Ubers. Great. You could get 1 hard point into decrepify over here. Remember our little conversation about siphoning points from mages? That's what I would do. But if we never even got better gear, okay, and we're stuck at this low gear, 40 skill points, these bad mercs, remember these 33 PDR numbers and crap? We put 20 more points. So now we're only losing 3% DPS. 714. That's 23,100. Guess what? Without doing anything, without getting any better gear, not even counting our mages, delete this, okay? We're not counting mages. Your skeletons plus clay golems are doing more damage than clay golems. Your 60-20-20 split is better than your 40-40 split. And you suck. You are a bad player. You have 40 point You have 40-point skellies. But that's just kind of the way skeletons and clay golems interact. And again, you'd go, well, why wouldn't you always run 20 points in the golem mastery? Well, at some point, skeletons really do take off, okay? And clay golems really just peter out. And it's not like these numbers are bad. It's just, what are the useful applications to all this damage? If you're just playing solo, I would always go 60 plus 20 golem mastery plus whatever else, okay? You get your 20 amp, okay? That's 100. You get your 10 kern mastery. And then what I would do is I would siphon points from mages until you got at least 1 point into every other curse, just in case. Get 1 point into LR, okay? Get 1 point into Decrep, just for yourself even, okay? Decrep, okay, you're never gonna play in a group. Don't even get LR. Just get 1 point into Decrep. It'll make your life better. Like clay golems are actually pretty squishy. They really need Decrep to survive, and your Merc likes Decrep. Everyone likes Decrep. I think the video is done. Like, I think I've described to you what these numbers mean, how Mercs and how gear affects your progression from hell to in-game. And I guess one last number. If you're an in-game player, you have an Act 1 Merc, your summons, 24,000. Let's not even do in-game. Let's do mid-game. 16,000? Because everyone can get mid-game. I honestly believe that. Just a month of play. Not even full-time. You'll be doing 41,000 with all of your summons combined. Alright, guys. Skeleton King out. GG.